So, what is true leadership when you strip everything else away? To really get it, we're not heading to some modern day seminar. We're going way back into the desert sands of Arabia. We're going to explore what leadership really means through the prophetic school, seen through the eyes of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his closest friend, his shadow, Abu Bakr. You see, their relationship, it was the foundation for everything. Abu Bakr wasn't just a follower. He was a constant presence, a companion through literally every moment, from the quiet revelations to the deafening clash of swords. He was, in every single way, the Prophet's other half in this incredible mission. And this quote just captures that lifetime of devotion perfectly. The historian Az-Zamakhshari nails it. Abu Bakr's name is forever tied to the prophets. He was there for the huge history-making battles, Badr, Uhud, and he was there for the quiet moments, always giving his wealth, his support, and his absolute, unwavering loyalty. Now, this incredible bond would be forged in the heat of battle. And that brings us to our first big lesson, the Battle of Badr. You've got this tiny group of believers facing a much, much larger and better equipped army. But you know, the most important work wasn't even happening on the battlefield itself. I want you to just picture this for a second. There's a simple hut tucked away from the soldiers. Inside, the prophet isn't planning military strategy. No, he is turning completely to God, just pouring his heart out. And standing guard right outside, his closest friend, Abu Bakr. I mean, listen to the intensity of that prayer. This wasn't just, please help us win. This was an appeal for the entire future of faith on this planet. The stakes just could not have been higher. And in that moment of raw vulnerability, the prophet laid it all bare. He was so completely absorbed in this conversation with God, so deep in this moment of pleading, that his own cloak just slipped from his shoulders and he didn't even notice. It's a small detail, but wow, it shows a level of focus and devotion that's just, honestly, it's breathtaking. And right here, we see Abu Bakr's role so perfectly. He doesn't interrupt the prayer. He just gently picks up the cloak and places it back. And his words, they aren't just meant to be comforting. They are a statement of pure, absolute faith. He's reminding the prophet that God's promise is real, acting like an anchor in this incredibly intense moment. And then the response came. This verse was revealed, confirming that that sincere, desperate plea had been heard and it had been answered. The connection is so direct, a powerful, unforgettable lesson for everyone there that day. So the huge lesson from Badr was crystal clear. You have to do your part, right? You have to make the physical preparations. But real, ultimate victory, that comes from sincere, heartfelt devotion. Your effort is required, but the outcome is always in God's hands. And this was a lesson Abu Bakr would carry with him for the rest of his life. Okay, so victory is achieved. But winning on the battlefield, well, that creates a whole new kind of challenge. What do you do next? The aftermath of Badr became this profound test of leadership, and it all centered on the question of justice versus mercy. So the big question was, what do we do with all these captured enemy soldiers? And you have to remember, a lot of them were literally their cousins, their kinsmen from Mecca. Now, the prophet didn't just hand down a verdict. Instead, he turned it into a teachable moment by asking his closest companions for their advice. And the advice he got back? I mean, it could not have been more different. On one side, you've got Abu Bakr arguing for mercy. He's saying, look, they're our family, let's accept a ransom. Who knows, maybe this act of kindness will open their hearts to Islam. But on the other side, you have Umar arguing for firm, decisive justice. He says, these are the leaders of disbelief, the ones who drove us from our homes. We have to show absolute resolve. The prophet's response to these two completely opposite viewpoints is just, it's incredible. He doesn't say one is right and the other is wrong. Instead, he makes this powerful analogy. He compares Abu Bakr's soft heart to the prophet Jesus and Omar's firmness to the prophet Moses, peace be upon them all. He saw these amazing divine qualities reflected in both of his friends. And this shows us something so profound about leadership. For a community to be strong, to be balanced, it needs both. It needs the softness of milk and the hardness of rock. You need compassion and you need justice. And while the prophet himself leaned toward Abu Bakr's merciful path, he confirmed that both temperaments are absolutely essential. All right, so we've seen the incredible high of victory at Badr. Now we have to look at the crushing setback at the Battle of Uhud. This was a moment of just intense pain and confusion, a moment that really tested the faith of the believers to its absolute core. The battle had gone terribly wrong. The believers were wounded, they were grieving their dead, and they were reeling from the shock of a near total defeat. There was even a rumor spreading that the Prophet himself had been killed. I mean, the physical and emotional pain was just immense. So, in that state of total exhaustion and pain, what was the command? To rest? To fall back and regroup? No. The command was, get up, ignore your wounds, and immediately go pursue the enemy army that was leaving the field. Can you just imagine how incredibly hard that must have been? And this act, this unbelievable display of resilience, was so significant that it was praised by God right there in the Quran. Their response in their absolute weakest moment was immortalized. It became the defining example of what true faith really looks like under pressure. And that's the lesson of Uhud. It's a powerful, raw lesson in resilience. See, it's easy to be steadfast when things are going great. But to answer the call when you are physically and emotionally broken, that is the mark of true conviction. That's the legacy of this moment. So as we start to pull all these threads together, what do we see? We see a masterclass in leadership, one that wasn't taught in a classroom, but was forged in the fire of real-world crises, with Abu Bakr learning every step of the way, right at the Prophet's side. The lessons are just so clear and absolutely timeless. From the victory at Badr, they learned the incredible power of sincerity. In its aftermath, they learned the deep wisdom of mercy. And from the crushing setback at Uhud, they learned the undeniable strength of resilience. And through all of it, the highest highs, the lowest lows, the moments of absolute certainty and the moments of intense debate, that companionship between the Prophet and Abu Bakr was the one constant. It was a bond of love and loyalty that really truly did change the course of human history. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. These lessons, they weren't just for them all those years ago. They are for us, right here, right now. So the question I want to leave you with is this. How can we take these principles, sincerity in what we do, mercy in how we treat people, and resilience when we face our own hardships, and use them to turn our own challenges into opportunities to grow?